Hello everyone, I welcome you to the online lecture series of Environmental Engineering 1. Today's topic of the presentation is disinfection of water. In today's presentation, the contents are introduction, factors affecting disinfection, types of disinfectants, requirement of ideal disinfectant, chlorination and theory of chlorination, characteristics of chlorine, methods of chlorination and the points of chlorination. Okay. So, to begin with the chlorination, water after passing through the aeration, coagulation, flocculation, sedimentation and filtration tanks, it contains small percentage of pathogenic microorganisms. Now, we have already seen that there are two types of microorganisms, pathogenic and non-pathogenic. Pathogenic bacteria are the harmful bacteria. So, the treatment of the water with the chemicals to kill these pathogens is called as disinfection, and the materials which are used for the disinfection process are called as disinfectants. These processes or the disinfection removes only few types of bacteria. So, it is necessary to destroy almost all the disease which are causing by the bacteria. Whereas sterilization is a process in which the total and complete destruction of all the types of bacteria takes place. You might have heard about the sterilization. In the hospitals, the doctor used to sterilize the needles or the syringes before use. So, sterilize means it is the complete destruction of all the types of bacteria, and this sterilization takes place by boiling the water. Now, we always say that the water should be safe for drinking purposes. Safe water means what? So, the water should be free from the bacteria, the water should be aesthetically acceptable, the water should be free from excessive minerals and the poisonous matter. Thus, the disinfection makes the water safe for the use. So, this is about the disinfection of water, what is meant by disinfection and why it is to be done. Now, there are some factors which affects on the disinfection process, such as first factor is the nature and the concentration of microorganisms. So, it is quite obvious that if the concentration of organism increases, the time required to kill that pathogens is also increases, which means it requires more time if the concentration of organisms is high. A relationship to explain the effect of concentration of organisms is given by CQ n suffix r is equal to constant. So, this is the relationship which is used to explain the effect of concentration of organisms, where C, capital C, is concentration of disinfectant and n suffix r is the time required to kill a constant percentage of organisms, and small q is constant which is related to the strength of disinfectant. Okay. So, if the concentration of organism increases, the time also increases to kill the pathogens. So, this is the first factor which affects on the disinfection, nature and concentration of organisms. Now, similarly, a second factor is nature and concentration of disinfectant. First, we have seen about the nature and concentration of organisms. Now, this is the nature and concentration of disinfectant which is to be used. Now, if the effectiveness of disinfectant is high, then obviously the concentration of disinfectant use should be low. If it is more effective, then you should apply the concentration of disinfectant in the quantity is very low. Okay. So, depending on the nature of disinfectant, it has been observed that the effectiveness of the disinfectant is related to the concentration. The disinfection efficiency is generally estimated as Cn into T. Cn, C raised to n into T, where capital C is the concentration of disinfectant, small n is the constant, and small t is the time required to effect a constant percentage of killing the pathogens. So, this is the second factor which affects on the disinfection. Third factor is temperature of water. The effect of temperature on the rate of killing follows the rule which is called as a Van't Hoff Arrhenius relationship. So, if the temperature is increases, the death rate of the bacteria is also going to be increase. Next factor is the time of contact. It has been observed that for a given concentration of disinfectant, the longer the contact time, the greater the disinfection efficiency. If the contact time increases, the disinfection efficiency also going to increases. So, and the last is the nature of physical agent. Heat and light are the physical agents that have been used for the disinfection. The intensity of these agents affects the disinfection efficiency. Okay. Now, apart from these factors, there are some other factors which are also affects on the disinfection, such as nature of water to be disinfected and the pH of the water. So, the nature of suspending liquid is an important factor and must be evaluated carefully. The substances like NH3, iron, manganese and organic matter may interfere the disinfection process. The organic matter will react with the most oxidizing disinfectants, and that will reduce the effectiveness of disinfection. Turbidity also reduce the effectiveness of the disinfectant by adsorption and by protecting entrapped bacteria. And apart from this, the pH of water plays a very important role as far as disinfection is concerned. The effectiveness of chlorine gets reduced with the increase in the pH values. So, the strong and effective hydrochlorous acid is formed in greater quantities at low pH than at high pH values. Okay. So, now we will see the types of disinfectants. The common materials which are used for the disinfections are chlorine, ozone, lime, silver, iodine, the iodine which is used in the tablet form, bromine. The bromine is especially used in case of the disinfection of the swimming pool, and last is the ultraviolet rays. So, these are the types of disinfectants which are used to treat the water, to disinfect the water. Now, the requirements of a good or ideal disinfectant. So, three categories of human enteric pathogens are normally of consequence: bacteria, viruses and amoebic cysts. So, there are three criteria of these pathogens: bacteria, viruses and amoebic cyst. The disinfection process must be capable of killing all the three types of these pathogens. So, to be of practical service, such water disinfectants must possess some ideal requirements of the disinfectants are given. So, first is it should kill all the types of pathogens up to the acceptable level. Second is it must be available in a reasonable cost and safe to store, transport, handle and to apply. The next is it should act rapidly and should not change subsequent quality of the water. It must be neither toxic to human nor to animals. Apart from these requirements, there are some other requirements, such as they should act rapidly, they must meet possible fluctuation in composition, concentration and condition of water and wastewater. So, these are the requirements of the good or ideal disinfectants. Now, how this disinfection process takes place, or what are the methods of disinfection? So, first we will see chlorination. So, chlorination is a type of disinfection method or chlorine is a type of disinfectant. So chlorination is the application of small quantities of chlorine or chlorine compounds to the water. The dose applied is generally less than 1 mg per liter. The amount of chlorine required to be added depends upon the chlorine demand of water. So chlorine demand is difference between the amount of chlorine added and the amount of chlorine remaining at the end of the contact period of 10 to 20 minutes. Chlorination process great disinfecting powers, and it is universally accepted method for public water supplies. So as far as the theory of chlorination is concerned, the chlorine is an element having the symbol Cl with an atomic weight of 35.45. The gaseous chlorine is greenish yellow in color, and it is approximately 2.5 times the heavier than air. So what is meant by chlorination is the application of small quantities of chlorine or chlorine compounds to the water, and the dose applied is generally less than 1 mg per liter. Okay, and how much chlorine is to be used is depends upon the chlorine demand of that water. And how to calculate the chlorine demand of the water is the difference between amount of chlorine added and the amount of chlorine remaining at the end of contact period of 10 to 20 minutes. Means after 10 to 20 minutes, how much chlorine has remained in the water, that is the remaining chlorine, and the difference between amount of chlorine added and this chlorine is called as the chlorine demand of that water. Now we will see the theory of chlorination. The chlorine hydrolysis in water to form hypochlorous acid HOCl and further produce hypochlorite ion OCl. The HOCl and OCl together are known as free available chlorine. So there are forms of chlorine. This is the free available chlorine form. The combination of HOCl and OCl together is known as a free available chlorine. If ammonia is also present in water, chlorine reacts to form chloramines, and there are three types of chloramines: monochloramine, dichloramine and trichloramine. The chlorine existing in the form of chloramines is called as combined available chlorine. These resulting chlorine compounds in water interfere with certain enzymes in the bacterial wall, forming a toxic chlorocompounds, thus destroying bacteria completely. So how chlorination works is given. The resulting chlorine compounds in the water interfere with the certain enzymes in the bacterial wall, forming a toxic chlorocompounds, and then the bacteria will get destroyed completely. So this is how the chlorination takes place. Now the effect of chlorine as disinfectant depends on the contact period and the concentration of chlorine in the water. The killing power of the disinfectant is proportional to the product of contact period and the chlorine concentration. The factors affecting chlorination are pH value of the water, temperature of water, and the residual chlorine in the form of free available or combined available chlorine. Okay, so the factors which affects on the chlorination are pH of that water sample, temperature of the water, and the residual chlorine, which we are going to see in the next slides. And in the previous slide we have already seen what is meant by free available or combined available chlorine. So these are the factors which affects on the chlorination. Now there are some characteristics of the chlorine which is used as a disinfectant. The chlorine can be applied by any of the following methods: as dry chlorine gas, as chlorine liquid solution, in a powder form such as bleaching powder or sodium hypochlorites. Chlorine applied, if the chlorine is applied as a dry chlorine gas, as dry chlorine gas from liquid chlorine cylinder, it is directly applied to water by supplying through the submerged diffuser. So how the dry chlorine gas is applied? It is directly applied to the water by supplying through the submerged diffusers are there. This method does not give satisfactory result as it causes corrosion to the pipes. Now chlorine applied as a liquid chlorine solution. Liquid chlorine solution is prepared in a solution feed chlorinator by mixing chlorine gas with small quantity of water. The chlorine solution is applied to the water supply by using a water injector through a discharge pipe. This method is commonly used in the water work practice. Third method is chlorine applied in a powder form. In powder form, chlorine available as two forms as hypochlorites, bleaching powder, and the chemical formula for bleaching powder is CaOCl twice. Sodium hypochlorite NaOCl. Hypochlorites are applied to the water by using hypochlorite feeding apparatus, and the bleaching powder is not as stable as the strength hypochlorites. It loses the strength and on long storage or exposure. So if the chlorine is to be used in a powder form, it is used in the two forms, bleaching powder and the sodium hypochlorite. So this if we want to use the chlorine in the form of hypochlorite, then these are applied to the water by using hypochlorite feeding apparatus. And bleaching powder is not generally used for the disinfectant because it loses the strength on long storage or the exposure. Okay. Now we will see one term which is very important as far as chlorination is concerned, the chlorine dose and the demand of water. Too little chlorine is ineffective and too much chlorine causes the taste and odors. Okay. So if we are using very less amount of chlorine, it is of no use, and if you are going for too much chlorine, then it will cause or it will affect on the taste and the odor of the water. Therefore, the amount of chlorine required to be added should be determined. It should be optimum. It can be determined in the laboratory by adding various doses of chlorine to equal proportions of water sample and finding the amount of residual after a period of contact of 10 to 20 minutes. So we have to determine this chlorine dose in a laboratory by adding the various dose of chlorine to the equal proportion to the water, and then finding the amount of the residue after the period of 10 to 20 minutes. Chlorine demand is the difference between the amount of chlorine added and the amount of chlorine remain at the end of contact period of 10 to 20 minutes. So this is how we can determine how much is the chlorine demand of a given water sample. The minimum dose giving a residual of 0.05 to 0.20 mg per liter is generally selected. Now we will see the methods of chlorination. There are 4 methods of chlorinations which are being used for the disinfection. First is the plain chlorination or just a chlorination, then superchlorination, then dechlorination, and the breakpoint chlorination. Now we will see one by one. Pre-chlorination or a simple chlorination, the application of chlorine to raw water before releasing for the drinking is called as plain chlorination. So if we are doing the chlorination to the water, or we are applying the chlorine to the raw water before releasing for the drinking, before it reaches the consumer, then it is called as a plain chlorination or a simple chlorination. And this type of chlorination is used when the turbidity and the color of water is very low, which means the water is quite clean and the turbidity is very less. If the raw water is less polluted and if the iron and manganese concentration is less than 0.3 mg per liter, then we should opt for the plain chlorination. Now second type of chlorination is a superchlorination. This is adopted during the outbreaks of epidemics and in heavily polluted waters. This is done when the water is colored. Plain chlorination produces taste and odor. Fe and manganese, that is iron and manganese, have to be oxidized. Then we go for the superchlorination. Okay. So when we have to use the superchlorination during the outbreaks of the epidemics. Epidemics means the diseases which are the community spreads that are called as the epidemics. If the water is heavily polluted, then in case of epidemics and the polluted waters, we go for the superchlorination, and it is done when the water is colored. The plain chlorination produces taste and odor, and if the Fe and Mg have to be oxidized, then this option we should go for. Next is the dechlorination. Okay. Whenever higher dose of chlorine is applied during the superchlorination, the water contains excess of free available chlorine, which should be removed before it reaches to the consumer. Now what happens if the water is highly polluted? We go for superchlorination, which means we applied a dose of chlorine in a heavily manner, and sometimes this higher dose of chlorine when we applied in the superchlorination, the water contains excess of free available chlorine, and which should be removed before it reaches to the consumer. So the removal, the process of removal of this chlorine which is excess is called as the dechlorination. The partial or complete reduction of the undesirable excess chlorine in the water by chemical treatment is known as dechlorination. And how this excess chlorine is to be removed? By using SO2, sodium thiosulfate and sodium bisulfite, and also by prolonged storage and absorption on charcoal. Okay. So this is about the dechlorination method. Next method is breakpoint chlorination. It is also called as free residual chlorination. It involves the addition of sufficient chlorine to oxidize all the organic matter. It reduces the substances and free ammonia in raw water. It leaves free residual chlorine which possesses strong disinfection action against the pathogen. Now we have seen the dechlorination. Dechlorination means what? We have to remove the excess amount of chlorine, and this excess amount of chlorine which is present in the water. So that is something about the breakpoint chlorination, which we are going to see in more detail in the next slide. So this is what the breakpoint chlorination is. Now you can see in the graph there are 4 points A, B, C and D. D is far away from the C. So it is observed that the applied chlorine to water, the reactions are marked as follows. At A, there is a destruction of chlorine by reducing the compounds. As the graph is plotted against the dose of chlorine and the chlorine residual. So at the point A, there is a destruction of chlorine by reducing the compound. At point B, that is combined residues, the formation of chloro-organic compounds and the chloramines are there. So as the dose of chlorine increases, the residual of chlorine also going to be increased at the point B. After point B to point C, the destruction of chloro-organic compounds and the chloramines takes place, and therefore the residual in the chlorine decreases as we go on further increase in the chlorine dose, and this point C is known as the breakpoint chlorination. So after this breakpoint chlorination, again if we go on increasing for the chlorine dose, there will be again the considerable amount of increase in the chlorine residuals. So this is what the breakpoint chlorination is. The addition of chlorine at the break or is termed as breakpoint chlorination because of highly persistent and powerful disinfection possessed by a free available chlorine. Any type of pathogens present in the water gets destroyed, making disinfection process more effective. So now the points of chlorination. We have seen the types of chlorination such as pre-chlorination, then dechlorination, superchlorination and breakpoint chlorination. Now we are going to see about the points of chlorination. Please do not get confused between the points of chlorination and the types of chlorination. As far as the point of chlorination are concerned, there are 3 types of chlorination points. First is pre-chlorination. Now, second is post chlorination and third is the re-chlorination. Now, pre-chlorination means what? The application of chlorine prior to any unit treatment process is called as a pre-chlorination, which means we applied a chlorine before any treatment unit on the water. So, that is called as a pre-chlorination, and this helps in controlling the biological growth in raw water pipes and increasing the efficiency of further treatment process. Next is the post chlorination. Now, the name itself gives an idea about this type of point of chlorination. The application of chlorine to treated water before it enters into the distribution system, which means after the treatment of water we are going to add the chlorine in it, and which is known as the post chlorination, and this helps to maintain the residual chlorine in the treated water. So, after the treatment, some part of chlorine should be, residue chlorine should be there in the system or in the water, so as to kill the pathogens after it if it reaches to the consumers. So, this is called as a post chlorination. Okay. Now, next point of chlorination is the re-chlorination. When the distribution system is so long and complex, the residual chlorine of 0.2 mg per liter may not be available at the consumer's end. To achieve this, stage wise application of chlorine is in the distribution system is carried out and is called as a re-chlorination, which means if we go for the post chlorination, we know that the minimum amount of residue chlorine which should be present in the water is at least 0.2 mg per liter. But what happened in case of long and complex distribution system, the residual chlorine about this 0.2 mg per liter may not be available at the end of the consumer level, and therefore to get this minimum residual chlorine in the water, we need to add the chlorine stage wise in the distribution system itself, and this process is called as the re-chlorination. Okay. So, we have seen the chlorination process and the disinfection process. Now, just we will discuss about the applications of the chlorine. The chlorine is applied to the water by adding of weak solution prepared from the bleaching powder for disinfecting small quantities of water. The chlorine compounds used for this are bleaching powder. Bleaching powder is available under the different commercial brands with an available chlorine of 20 to 30%. Then sodium hypochlorite and calcium hypochlorite are the chemicals which are used in this type of chlorination. The addition of the liquefied gas under the pressure is also an application of chlorine. The liquefied chlorine gas is supplied in the cylinders. Chlorine dioxide gas is used for this. It is formed by reacting a strong solution of chlorine with the pH 3.5 with the sodium chloride. So, in this fashion we can go for the disinfection, and in the today's lecture we are predominantly see the types of chlorination and how the disinfection of water takes place, why it is to be done, why it is required, and in the next lecture we are going to discuss the things which are related to the softening of the water. So, softening, or as far as this disinfection is concerned, as the disinfection is also important thing, if the hardness of water is very much greater, or if it exceeds beyond 200 mg per liter, then we need to soften that water for many purposes that we are going to see in the very next lecture. I hope you understood the today's topic, and if you have any doubt you can contact me or drop a message to me. Thank you very much.